single idea or quality. Round character on the other hand are combinations of several ideas or qualities. And flat character number 2, they are often presenting rather curiosity in a single phrases or sentence, and so not sketches beyond a mere outline. And round character, they are sketched in detail, pa- painstakingly, and many requires an excessive treatment. And flat character, they are derived from sense of collective ideas from the type of or group, social or literary, to which she or he belong. So words, deeds, and attitudes are dismissed as quarrels of the class. But round characters, they do not derive from any group. They have distinct sense, personal identity, and often responsibility for the work, deeds, and attitude. Flat characters two-dimensional, and so do not undergo flat character and round character. Flat characters are usually built around single ideas or qualities. അവർക്ക് എന്തായിരിക്കും ഫ്ലാറ്റ് ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് ഒരു യൂഷ്വലായിട്ട് ബിൽഡ് ചെയ്ത് അറൗണ്ട് ആയിട്ട് സിംഗിൾ ഐഡിയ ഒരു ക്വാളിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ റൗണ്ട് ക്യാരക്ടർ അങ്ങനെയില്ല. റൗണ്ട് ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് ഓൺ അതർ ഹാൻഡ്, അവർ വേറൊരു ഹാൻഡ് ആർ കമ്പൈൻ ഓഫ് സെവറൽ ഐഡിയാസ്, അവർക്ക് ഒരുപാട് സെവറൽ ഐഡിയാസ് ഒരു ക്വാളിറ്റീസ് ഉണ്ട്. ഈ ഫ്ലാറ്റ് ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ദേ ആർ ഓഫൻ പ്രസൻറ്റ് റാദർ ക്യൂരിയോസിറ്റി, അവർക്കൊരു ക്യൂരിയോസിറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. ഇൻ എ സിംഗിൾ ഫ്രേസ്, ഓരോ ഫ്രേസ് എടുക്കും ഓർ സെൻറ്റൻസ്, ഫ്രേസ് ആയിട്ട് സെൻറ്റൻസ് അവർക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ക്യൂരിയോസ്ലി ആയിരിക്കും അവർ ഇതായിരിക്കും. ആൻഡ് സോ ആർ സ്കെച്ചഡ് ബിയോണ്ട് എ മെയർ ഔട്ട്ലൈൻ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കും. പക്ഷേ റൗണ്ട് ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് ദേ ആർ സ്കെച്ചഡ് ഇൻ ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് അവരെക്കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കും. സെൻറ്റിക്കലി ദ മെയിൻ റെക്കോർഡ് ഓൺ ദ എക്സിസ്റ്റിംഗ് ട്രീറ്റ്മെൻ്റ് ആയിരിക്കും അവർക്കുള്ളത്. ഇനി ഫ്ലാറ്റ് ക്യാരക്ടർ നോക്കുമ്പം ദ ഡ്രൈവ്സ് ഫ്രം സെൻസ് ഫോർ കളക്റ്റീവ് ഐഡിയാസ്, അവർക്ക് ഐഡിയ കളക്റ്റീവ്സ് ഉണ്ട് ഫ്രം ദ ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഗ്രൂപ്പ്, ഏതൊക്കെ ടൈപ്പിലായിരിക്കും അവർ, ഒന്ന് സോഷ്യൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഓർ ലിറ്ററസി, അത് ടു വിച്ച് ഹി ബിലോങ്സ്. സോ വേർഡ്സിൽ ആൻഡ് ഡീഡ്സിൽ ആൻഡ് ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡിലൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ ഡിസ്മിസ്ഡ് ക്യൂറൽസ് ഓഫ് ദ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റും. ബട്ട് ഈ പറഞ്ഞ റൗണ്ട് ക്യാരക്ടർ ദേ ഡു നോട്ട് ഡിറൈവ് ഫ്രം എനി ഗ്രൂപ്പ്, അവരൊരു ഗ്രൂപ്പിലും ഇല്ല. ദേ ഹാവ് ഡിസ്റ്റിങ് സെൻസ് പേഴ്സണൽ ഐഡൻറ്റിറ്റി, അവർക്കൊരു സെൻസഡ് പേഴ്സണൽ ഐഡൻറ്റിറ്റി ഉണ്ട് ഫോർ ദെയർ പേഴ്സണൽ ഐഡൻറ്റിറ്റി ആൻഡ് ഓർ ഫോർ റെസ്പോൺസ് ഫോർ ദെയർ വർക്ക് ലീഡഡ് ആൻഡ് ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡ്, അവർക്കൊരു ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡും ഡീഡ്സും എല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. ഈ ഫ്ലാറ്റ് ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് ആർ ടു ഡയമെൻഷനൽ, അവർ ടു ഡയമെൻഷനാണെങ്കിൽ റൗണ്ട് ക്യാരക്ടർ 3 ഡയമെൻഷനാണ്. ഫ്ലാറ്റ് ക്യാരക്ടർ 2 ഡയമെൻഷൻ ഇതൊക്കെയാണ്. സോ ഡു നോട്ട് അണ്ടർഗോ ചേഞ്ചസ്, അവർക്ക് പ്രത്യേക ചേഞ്ചസ് ഒന്നും ഇല്ല ഇൻ ദ കോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് ദ നോവൽ. പക്ഷേ റൗണ്ട് ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് 3 ഡയമെൻഷനൽ ആൻഡ് ഹാവ് ടു പവർ ടു സർപ്രൈസ് അസ് ത്രൂ ദ അൺഎക്സ്പെക്റ്റഡ് ത്രൂ നോട്ട് ഓൺലി ഇംപ്രൂവ്ഡ് ആക്ട് ഓഫ് ട്രാൻസ്ഫോർമേഷൻ ആണ് അവർക്കുള്ളത്. ഇനി ക്യാരക്ടറൈസേഷൻ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ദ റീസൺ വൈ വി ആർ ഡീലിംഗ് വിത്ത് ക്യാരക്ടറൈസേഷൻ അറ്റ് ദ ലെങ്ത് ഹിയർ ഇസ് because characterization is also inextricable link to both characters as well as plot. For a work of literature to be credible to the reader need to convey by the character the portrayal of the novelist in the novel, and the characters should also be such as reader can actually visualize them. The author can in their comment direct or indirectly on the character, in which case she or he would be employed the director characterization, or she or he could be direct the character. In the first sense, the author will be telling reader about the characters, or the second then she or he would be showing reader what the character is really like. For an author to create a successful work of fiction, she or he would need to make a plot convincing. The character should be such that the reader can identify them, oppose them, or reality to them, and the motivation beliefs in the character should be complaining to the text. Such as the reader can identify them, opposite them, or related to them, and the motivation to believe in the character should be compelling. To take the definition of character little further, we feel the next to point out without most part of that in the word they have announced the death of the character. For instance, of the theory, Roald Barthes Ronald Barthes is declared the what is absoluted in the contemporary novel in the character then can no longer be written by proper name. The character therefore is not longer discussed as real person but a literary contract. What has to remember is the character and characterization while being interrelated character concept of the simony. The term character generally refers to a person, not necessarily individual. Characterization study of the reference method of a novelist may be presented whole range of characters in logically arranged manner. The choice of character or method of presenting them the entirely up to novelists who may have vision of them and is often gated by certain factors such as his or her choice of the narrative story and the way in which he or her wishes develop it. The idea he seek representing through the character, her or his individual attitude to the idea, she or her seeking presentation through the different character in the novel. The novelist once again choose the combination, meaning she or he can choose to combination these factors is any way she or he finds suitable to his or her story narrative, but he or she usually keep in mind the following question while decision to combine of the factor to be arranged. The question could be related to how much improve should be given to which character and how should the character be made interact with each other and why, how and why should the character be ground together in different categories: character, caricature, individual, type and major and minor. Kindly note, characterization is essentially an art, a matter of consciousness, judges, and discrimination use of certain strategy need for process of selection, grouping, and presentation of different character in a novel. Methods of characterization. The major the manner in which all the technique employed by the novelist as far as characterization is concerned varies of novel to novel and for novelist to novelist. However, for sake of broader classification, we can make two important categories: narrative and dramatic method of characterization. In the narrative method, the quality or title of character is described. Narrative evaluation combine up to the novelist. The novelist also offers the final assessment of a character, motive, attitude, behavior orders. In the dramatic method, the quality or traits of character ensures relevant through the his or her words and action is series of drama situation. The reader is also allowed to draw his or her conclusion about character, motives, and attitude. Narrative method and dramatic method. Narrative method. The quality of traits of the character is described, narrated, evaluated, or commented upon by the novelist. Dramatic method. The quality or traits of the character shown on relevant through his or her words and action in series of dramatic situations. The novelist also offers the final assessment of a character's motivation, attitude, or behavior or this. Dramatic method. The reader is also allowed his or her own conclusions about the characters' motives and attitude. When you read the different novels prescribed for you, you will realize that the novelist of uses both methods in novel and methods in not sacrifice in the interior of others. What was the trying to tell you is that he said, and then these two method characterization are not really mutually exclusive, but rather than they compare to each other. When you need figure to write the character or method characterization, it might help you now mind the full of questions. Number one, what does the character say or do and why? Number two, what does the other character in the novel say about him or her and why? And number three, what does the novelist have to say about character and why? Number four, which category does a character belong to and why? The characters could be major, minor, individual type. Before we move on the next aspect of the novel that we wish to cover in the unit, let us stop for the while and reflect on the what we have done so far. Narrative mode. Before we be taking about what narrative mode, before we begin talking about what narrative mode means or does, we need to understand the meaning of the term narrative per se. Some people might say that narrative is just another, more sophisticated word for what is ordinary known as a story. This, however, is misconception in the needs of examine. A story is something that mostly today, whereas narrative is not only the story but also how the story is told and in what manners it is told. In other words, a story is a mercy, a compound of narrative, whereas narrative includes something more. But at the same time, a narrative is not a plot, just the story is but one component of the narrative. So too is narrative just one of the several methods of given shape to plot. Narrative therefore is an important strategy available to the novelist with the aid of which he or she created, describe or comment upon their situation or characters both. The study of the narrative modes can be of immersive help in different ways such as 1. It can help you understand how novel different from other genre such as a poem or a drama. Number 2. It can also help you distinguish between different type of novel and to the extent help you understand the basic nature of these different as well. This would probably make you more sense to you when you read about narrative method and next subsection. Type of narrative mode. Novelists have over a period of time developing a large varieties of mode strategies to present a story. Considering the fact the novel has been around since the 18th century, the scope of location, newer narrative method has been immersed generally. 18th century scope of location narrative method has been immersive. Generally, the novelist used only the specific narrative mode situated to what he was to narrate and how she wishes to do so. Sometimes a novelist could use a combination of several narrative modes simultaneously in the work of fiction. So, as you may discover, this is done only in some cases. The following type of narrative mode methods are well known. First, the third person narrative. Second, first person narrative. Third person narrative mode. In this narrative mode, the narrator is someone who is located outside the story and who relate all the characters in the story by name or as she or he. Chinnu as things fall apart that we will study in block 4 is a fine example of the type of narrative mode. Let us take a look at the opening line of the novel Things Fall Apart. Okonkowo was known through the 9 villages and even beyond. His fame rested in the sole person achievement. As a young man of 18, he had brought honor to his village by throwing Amames, the cat. In the case, you realize the narration is in all the sense that he knows everything the needs of Nanas about the character as well as the situation. He may appear to be good-like in the sense that knows more about characters than the characters themselves. He has an unchallenged monarchical presence in the novel as a surveil all. He has complete hold over the access to characters, thought, feeling, emotion, motive, speech, and even action. Whenever third person enjoys this privilege, almost serving status, we say the narrator is omniscient and the narrative mode is the third person omniscient mode. However, when the third person omniscient narrative choose to focus on the thoughts, feeling, or experience of single character or limited number of the character within the story, then we identify the third person limited narrative mode. In the such sense, a novelist seeking impose certain implication of him or herself so as to be able to present all situations, characters through eyes, perception of character, she or her sympathy with most. In your studies of the different novels, we are not really come to across anything that can help you understand. So to how the modification, however, the later stages is you do go to the reader and novel Henry James is particular, you would be able to appreciate the third person limit narrative mode much better. First person narrative. Very often novelists create a character persona in the first person and attempt to view order character situation through his or her eyes. When such a mode of narration is used to situate a manner through a novel, we may use that it is an instead of first person narrative mode. Sometimes used for first person narrative mode may mislead us to think the narrator is same as an author or best, an alter ego and author. While in certain cases, especially in an autobiographical novel, the narrator or the destiny may ultimately disappear. But does not always happen in manner. It would be wrongly to say that the novelist uses first person narrative to a pretext of giving the fiction account of his or her life drawing upon his or personal experience. In fact, even in a autobiographical novel, the fact even situations are fictionalized to such an extent that the distance between narrator and the author increases considerably. To give you some ideas how the mode of narration works, here is an example. Charles Dickens, David Copperfield. Whatever I shall turn to be the hero of my own life, whether the situation be held by anybody else, the page must show to begin my life with the beginning of my life. I record it was born. I have been informed and Billy on the Friday, 12 o'clock at night. Charles Dickens has made out use of first person narrative mode. The first person mode certainly imposes more limitations since the perspective character situation from the standpoint of single character and not only omniscient narrator. It doesn't offer circumvent view of whatever a novel by describe. However, it is generally performed of the following reason. It lends the degree of authentication to the narrative as a reader get a feeling and sure he listened to the story straight for the horse mouth. It lended a sense of immediately to the narrative and therefore make for a great investment on the part of the reader. Let us sum up. Speaking very boldly, and literary work may be said to have two major components for form and content. The study novel is always more helpful to study the look at the content of the novel from the form or from the point of view to have the analysis of the form. The form of a novel can turn to examined with the aid of several aspects of the novel, such as three-way conversation, the unit plot, character, and characterization. The narrative mode it is also important that we have to able to not only defend but also the understanding what each of these aspects are and what they do or do not on the literary work if you wish to have a sound understanding of novel. Plot is overall arrangement of the character, situation and events in a novel and is different from story that is simply manner in which we like remember the happening in the novel. Character refers to a person with a certain moral, physical and psychological attributes, while characterization is use of various strategies available to the novelist for the purpose of presenting the character. Narrative mode, the third aspect we covered in this unit, is a different way of narrative, the sequence of events the unfolded in a novel or presenting the character or action by using different narrative modes. An author is able to sustain the narrative of the reader in the narrative and is also able to emphasize a different point of view present in the novel.